Welcome back to GSMC's Down by Contact Sports Podcast. I am your host, Jeremy Lapidus. Today is Monday, March 3rd, if you were just tuning in. We just finished going over some news from college basketball. St. John's head coach Rick Pitino says he will not recruit another high schooler ever again. A bold move from him. Not sure if that's going to work out. In this segment, we continue our series on the NFL perfect offseason, a dream offseason, if you will, turning our attention to the Chicago Bears. A must-be successful offseason for them. We'll talk about what they have to do to turn their season around coming up in just a second. But before we do, remember, if you would like to be an even bigger part of the show than you already are, all you need to do is go to gsmcpodcast.net. Or if you're on YouTube, you can use that super chat feature. If you do either of those two things, a message should pop up on the bottom of the screen for you, me, and everybody else around the world to see. If you do have a burning question about sports, anything at all that you would like to ask, go ahead and throw that in the comments. Throw it in the chat. I will get to it as soon as I possibly can. I appreciate everybody so much for sticking around, talking some sports with me here on a beautiful Monday, March 3rd. But like I was saying, we are going to get into what a perfect offseason might look like for the Chicago Bears. The Chicago Bears, of course, coming off of a very disappointing year, going 5-12, finishing last place in the NFC North, a team that could not buy a win near the end of the season, a team that finished losing 11 out of their last 12 games. After starting 4-2, starting off so hot, everything seemed to turn down for them. They had maybe the most series of unfortunate events style season that you possibly could have seen. Losing on a last-second Hail Mary, losing on a blocked field goal, right? Losing on a field goal losing in overtime after making an onside kick, which is incredibly rare in the NFL nowadays. These heartbreaking time clock management, miscues, everything that could go wrong, seemingly going wrong for this Chicago Bears squad at the very worst time. And with a rookie quarterback in Caleb Williams, where all the promise in the world was there, the worst offensive line in the NFL came and just shut everything down. He had no time in the pocket. He had the third most amount of sacks in a season in NFL history. He is someone that was shell-shocked all season long, but the good news is they get the prize jewel of the coaching search. They went out and they got Ben Johnson, someone that had been extra selective with where he was going to take his head coaching opportunities, turning down multiple teams last season. And on top of that, they have now $79 million in cap space, the fourth most in the NFL. Obviously, the big thing that they need to address is the offensive line. But with their pending free agent situation, it's not the worst, right? You have a couple of key pieces. Wide receiver Keenan Allen, who despite not having the greatest numbers, was really like a safety valve for Caleb Williams last season. He was the guy that got turned to and really had the biggest season for the wide receivers of the Chicago Bears. You've got a couple edge rushers and defensive players, DeMarcus Walker on the defensive line, Darrell Taylor and Jacob Martin on the edge, both guys with at least 3 sacks this season, are going to be gone. That was a stout Bears defense, though, so they should be fine in bringing them back or replacing them. But where the real issue with free agency comes is, again, that offensive line, right? Both of your guards, Tevin Jenkins and Matt Pryor, are gone, as well as your center in Coleman Shelton. All 3 of your interior offensive linemen are gone. Now, the outside offensive linemen also probably need to be gone, but they can address that over free agency and the draft. So I don't think there's any of these guys that is a must re-sign. If you want to bring back a couple of them, maybe the defensive players, maybe you bring back Keenan Allen if the deal is cheap enough, but this is not a team that needs Keenan Allen, right? They have DJ Moore, a top receiver in the NFL. They have Rome Odunze, who they drafted in the top 10 last season. This is someone that is a little bit older, a little bit washed, not really bad, but someone that is not quite at the same level that you might expect him to be if you're paying him the big money. In free agency, what can I say? I can keep saying it again and again. Offensive line, offensive line, offensive line. You have $79 million. Spend it on the line. Now, a couple of the top guys that I would have targeted have been franchise tagged in Ulrich Johnson and Trey Smith for the Rams and the Chiefs, but that still leaves a couple of good options. You have Cam Robinson, a left tackle who got traded mid-season. He's someone that I think would be huge for the Bears to bring in. Brandon Scherf. These guys are a little bit older, but still pretty good. A guard. They desperately need a guard after losing all of their interior guys. And Ryan Kelly at center from the Indianapolis Colts. Bring in all three of them. Bring in more. Bring in every single star offensive lineman you possibly can. Outside of the offensive line, get a running back. Ben Johnson loves his running backs. He has developed one of the best two-headed monsters in the NFL in Detroit over there with David Montgomery and Gibbs over there, right? This is one of the best two-headed monsters over there. And that's a tough thing to just bring back up and do again. It's not something he's just going to be able to try and just develop. They have DeAndre Swift, who Ben Johnson decided wasn't good enough. He's still a guy that might be interesting, but there's a couple running backs on the market that if you can get cheap enough might be interesting. There's Najee Harris, although I don't know how much I love him in that role. Javonte Williams is a guy that I really do like. He's someone that, after getting injured in Denver his rookie season, never really quite was the same, but I think if you get him into the right system, especially if they start to build an offensive line, he's a big physical back that could do wonders for this team. And if you're looking for a receiving back, kind of like Gibbs was, get Ty Johnson out of Buffalo. One of the best receiving backs in the league. Ty Johnson had 12 yards a carry, basically, last season. He had pretty good production through the air as well, especially for a running back 3 over there in that system. Go and target one of those guys. Make him be that lightning and thunder duo that you like, either keeping DeAndre Swift and Roschon Johnson or moving off of one of them. I think these are guys that you might want to look at. There's been lots of mocks where the Bears go out and draft an Ashton Jeanty at number 8 overall. It just doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I think at this point you need to get an offensive lineman, the best one available. If Will Campbell is available out of LSU, you are hitting that button as soon as possible. In fact, he's someone that might even be worth trading up for. If not, Josh Simmons out of Ohio State is said to be is projected to be healthy for the start of the season. It's a little bit of a risk, but he's probably the second best offensive lineman in the draft. If you don't really want to take that risk, go for Kelvin Banks Jr. out of Texas. One of those 3 guys you need to take at number 8. This is a Bears defense that's pretty set. They've got good guys at the corners. They've got good guys up the middle, good guys on the pass rush. They can get better. They can get deeper, but the offensive line is issue number 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 this season. They need to address that. They need to hit that, and they need to make sure that Caleb Williams can stay upright. Now, of course, it's not just the offensive line. Caleb Williams also needs to learn to throw the ball quicker. He needs to get the ball out faster. He can't be playing hero ball like he was at USC. He can't do all the twirly whirls that he did in college. He's just not that kind of athlete. He's an escape artist, but he gets into trouble sometimes when he tries to do everything just a little bit too much. He is someone that I still believe can be the best quarterback in what was an elite rookie class. And that's saying a lot. Jaden Daniels just took a team to the NFC Championship game. Do I think it's going to happen right away? I don't know. But getting Ben Johnson is a huge first step. Fixing that offensive line is step, again, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Fix that offensive line. The rest of that team is good. If they're able to put together even a top half of the league offensive line, a 15th ranked offensive line in the NFL, this is a team that I think can make one of the bigger jumps in the NFL this year. They won 5 games last year. A lot of their losses were very close. If the ball bounces another way, if a ball gets tipped into the air or tipped down onto the ground, maybe they end up winning those games. Maybe if they manage to clock better, they end up winning those games. This was a feisty Chicago team. And I think this is the year that we finally see that breakout as long as they fix that offensive line. But I'd love to hear your thought. What do you think they're going to do this offseason? What do you think they're going to do at the draft? Do you think they'll be able to turn it around? I'd love to hear your thoughts. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we keep our attention in Chicago, but we go over to Wrigley. That's right. We're talking about the Chicago Cubs. Last season, they just barely missed the playoffs. Second in the NL Central. They were busy with trades, acquisitions this offseason. We'll talk about if that made them a better team and if it made them the favorite in a really, really tight NL Central. We'll be right back here on GSMC's Down by Contact Sports Podcast.